Good morning, everyone, and welcome to face-to-face, virtual, or hybrid conferences. Some hints, tips, and pitfalls. This is the second webinar in our series of 3. The first being the 12 key ingredients of a successful sales incentive program, and the last, in a few weeks' time, is team events, virtual or socially distanced. By way of introduction, my name is Victor Tardieu and I run Full Circle Motivation, an agency specializing in conference production, team building events, sales incentive programs, and video production. Our program today lasts around 30 minutes and covers conference strategic planning, hybrid conferences features and benefits, the key steps towards a successful hybrid conference, some questions to ask yourself when embarking on a virtual or hybrid conference. Then we will be showcasing our new virtual or hybrid conference studio setup. I will be measuring or showing you how to measure the return on investment. And finally, I'll be answering any questions you might have. Oh, and may I ask you to text through questions as you think of them throughout the presentation. The chat icon is situated centrally at the bottom of your screen. Okay, let's get this program started. So without any more delay, I'm going to switch over and share my screen with you. I think I've got it now. Okay, face-to-face conferences. The big question is, are face-to-face conferences a thing of the past? If so, what is the new normal? Virtual conferences or hybrid conferences, which combine both face-to-face and virtual conferences, will, like cream, rise to the top in the current climate. This presentation, therefore, is designed to help you through the conferencing pandemic. Now, conferences require a strategic plan. Ask yourself, what are the objectives, the strategy, the tactics, the delegate features and benefits, the timescale, and the budget? Answers help you to build your plan, but remember to write them down, because if you keep these in your head, it's not a plan, it's a wish. So when planning, your conference options could include face-to-face conferences. Now, face-to-face conferences like this one for 150 delegates, training sessions and meetings are a rarity these days, but they still go on. They happen because the content is highly confidential, or because the content will not translate well virtually. What you do will depend on the number of delegates and the reason for holding the event in the first place. COVID safety will, of course, be front of mind in order to allay delegate concerns. So you will need to at least plan the seating arrangements with the help of the venue, offer private or self-service check-in, stagger delegate arrival times, provide masks and sanitizing equipment, complete a risk assessment highlighting the level of risk, low, medium and high, and the control measures to be deployed. Review the venue cleaning regime and check isolation measures taken with regard to other delegates in the venue. The second option is virtual conferences. If the budget is low and the importance high, if information can be shared effectively via one of the video streaming systems, such as Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, Zoom, Skype, etc., or if delegates are being drawn from across the country, this is the time to consider a virtual conference. All you need to do is create the conference concept as a start point, but at this juncture, just as an aside, I'm going to show you some conference concepts with drama and theatre. This first is one created for Dell, and as you can see, the stage was designed as a laptop, and there was back projection onto the laptop screen. This was a design for Johnson & Johnson, where we had 2 projection screens and a central mist screen. This screen was front projected with the image of an eye, and the next speaker just walks through the mist onto the stage to take the lectern. Or something a little more low-key. At a time when Virgin and T-Mobile were planning a merger, which, as you probably know, didn't happen. Now, this setup is more like the One Show. And with hybrid setups, this can be as grand or as simple as you please. This, for example, is our blank canvas virtual production studio, a complete installation which is fully draped, sound dampened, and pre-rigged with stage, screen, lectern, spot, ambient and intelligent lighting, speakers, and video cameras. The facility can accommodate 30 delegates, socially distanced, of course, and is fully connected to the internet for the live transmission of virtual and hybrid conferences, virtual team building events, training sessions, and seminars. In fact, any event that requires maximum production with minimum effort, and it's broadcast anywhere. Now, going back to my original slide, other things you need to consider are to engage delegates by getting them to register in advance. It's all about commitment. Develop speaker presentation content, utilize two-way audio video, and punctuate the event with questions to increase engagement. Provide the event video post-conference as a review tool. And finally, use feedback surveys post-conference to gauge delegate understanding. The third point is hybrid conferences. Hybrid conferences are the perfect solution when the event can be held partially on site and virtually. Hybrid conferences are also extremely useful solutions when many attendees cannot attend. The reason they cannot attend can include when COVID-19 prevents travel, when COVID-19 prevents the gathering of large groups, and when the venue hosting the conference can no longer accommodate the numbers in a socially distanced and controlled environment. So what are the other features and benefits of a hybrid conference? Well, there's more to running a hybrid conference than hooking up to Zoom or one of the many similar systems. A successful hybrid event requires the same dynamic element as a face-to-face event, and often good IT support and an uninterrupted internet connection too. Here are some of the key features and benefits of setting up a hybrid conference. First, they say content is king. IT is important, but content is even more important at a hybrid event. Everyone needs to be kept engaged, particularly those attending virtually. Speakers must be prepared and deputy speakers appointed in case of local IT malfunctions. Next, marketing is a must. Hybrid conferences are likely to attract more delegates than face-to-face events. Because of the ease of attending, ease of asking questions and receiving answers, and ease of being able to reprise the conference via the conference video link. Internal conferences respond to a 3-line whip. However, external conferences require an increased level of marketing and communication, including a dynamic website for registration, program information, news, distance learning, Q&As, etc. Then we have the registration. What you see is part of a registration website we created for Tesco. Now, any dynamic website can not only aid registration, but also aid in placing delegates into virtual teams and chat rooms, aid in monitoring the difference between questions and attitudes, between virtual and live attendees, and monitoring differences regionally. Registration and the resulting communication helps to cement engagement. Next comes appointment tools and networking. Particularly for external conferences, appointment tools can aid networking between virtual and live attendees and between virtual attendees situated some distance apart. Another benefit of a hybrid event is increased attendance. Changing to hybrid events can increase attendance because delegates can attend from the comfort of their own home, and they do not need to travel to attend the face-to-face conference. And don't forget, a hybrid conference is low budget compared to many on-site events. There's so much more to hybrid conferences. For example, post-event engagement. Hybrid conferences involve live streaming of speakers and breakout sessions for virtual attendees. These can be video recorded and sent to all attendees post-conference. These attendees can therefore engage with content days or even weeks after the event is over. And hybrid conferences have a lower carbon footprint. This speaks for itself. Reduced attendees means less travel, less food and beverages, less equipment rental, and less transport. It's a no-brainer. And finally, there is increased sponsorship value. Due to the digital environment, sponsors are able to get in front of live captive audiences, in fact, your delegates. This effective marketing opportunity can help to offset hybrid conference costs because sponsors have the ability to scroll their logo, in this case, continuously across the bottom of the screen of a live presentation. It makes good business sense for both parties. So, what are the key steps towards a successful hybrid conference? The various video conferencing systems on the market make this relatively easy, but there are pitfalls. First, you need to be prepared. One hybrid conference has two audiences and therefore two experiences. The organizer will have to test and ensure that the video streaming is working and without interruption. Juggle two different groups. Ensure presenters are prepared. Plan joint activities so as not to isolate one group. And rehearse presenters so they can see how they present themselves on video. Next, you need to create engagement content. It is much more difficult to keep virtual attendees engaged when they are miles away and alone. So keep presenters' content short and sweet. Ask questions of the audience throughout the event to keep them engaged and sometimes awake. And the penultimate step is beware the time zone trap. Hybrid conferences can reach out to international delegates, but balancing the time zones can be challenging. You may therefore have to run the conference twice or provide an on-demand facility so that virtual attendees can access it at a more convenient time. And the final step is marketing the agenda. Use the agenda as a marketing tool to help create excitement before and during the conference. Communication in the virtual environment is paramount, so over-communicate by 1000%. I cannot stress that enough. Now, questions help to formulate strategy. So ask yourself these questions. How long should each speaker session run? Virtual attendees have a shorter attention span, sat in front of a computer. So make the presentations content rich and keep things as short and sweet as possible. How many sessions will you need to include? Well, ditto the above, for exactly the same reasons, keep things short and sweet. How do I bring virtual and face-to-face delegates together? Okay, assuming you won't have different sessions for virtual and face-to-face attendees, try to create a community feel by setting up mixed teams and chat rooms. How do I keep all delegates engaged? Connect virtual and face-to-face audiences with live polls during the conference and also calls for questions during the conference too. Now that you have your strategy and tactics sorted, you must turn your attention to your return on investment. Why? Because what gets measured gets done. This very simple truth leads to some simple checks, but by no means an exhaustive list. Trying to measure some of the following will enable the organizer to establish a return on investment for different types of conference. Immediate post-event response from attendees. This is quick, easy, but not very scientific. Survey results. Survey questions created to a clear list of objectives must be conducted both pre and post-event. Learnings taken from the event. Survey the delegates back in the workplace on the key messages of the event. This can highlight a training gap. New client leads. This is effective if the leads are purchasing prospects. Client retention and growth. The event must have relevant content and engagement for business partners. Total attendance. This measure can be significant if it is not a three-line whip. Revenue. Revenue against target from a revenue-generated event. This is the ring on the till. Quality of attendees. Providing one is conducting a meeting where business partners and/or prospects comprise the audience, this can be a good indicator too. Response from management. It is becoming more and more important that events demonstrate discernible ROI. A strong endorsement from management can go a long way in helping sustain the internal momentum. Sales growth. It is very difficult to tie sales to a single event. That being said, positive experiences at an event can go a long way in helping contribute to an eventual sale. Press and media coverage. If not just an eternal event, positive press and media coverage is usually a primary objective because it results in increased awareness and performance. So, in summary, the pandemic has forced changes and we too must change. Virtual and socially distanced events are now the norm. Set up your system to measure ROI. Utilize the virtual environment. It's infinitely flexible and it can keep budgets low. And above all, make the conference fun, because this increases information retention. Hopefully, that's virtual and hybrid conferences explained. Right, you're back to me. You're back to me now. And I notice from what's coming in here that we just have 3 questions this morning. The first one is, where is the production studio located? Well, the production studio is located between London and Cambridge, close to the M11 and M1, and also between Bishop Stortford and Stevenage stations. So that's roughly where we are in the middle there. Our next question is, how do you manage the event budget? Well, we always produce a very extensive Excel spreadsheet of itemized budgets, items within the program. The key thing is that our budget spreadsheets are always open book, which means that everything is shown at its net price, and at the end of the budget, we show our markup. So everything is open, the client can see what we're earning and what we're charging, and then there are no misunderstandings. But ongoing, we then produce a monthly spreadsheet showing expenditure against budget. So now the client can see what he or she is spending, what is to come, and when it's to come, because we'll add that into the overall spreadsheet. So that's how we manage that budget. Our third question is what services we offer. Well, I hope to have covered that within the presentation, but essentially the services we provide include conference production, team building events, video production, and sales incentive programs. Those are the 4 key services provided by Full Circle Motivation. Currently, our business, the concentration of our business is in the conference and team building area, despite the fact that we can't hold conferences. But as I hope I've showed you, we do things on a hybrid basis. So those are the 3 questions that have been tabled. Does anyone have any further questions? Let's see. No? Okay. Well, that concludes today's presentation. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, and if you want to know more, please get back in touch with us. We'd be happy to talk and help you. Goodbye.